Support WrestleTalk!
Give us a subscribe.
As we all know, former WWE champion and everyone's favourite name to chant, CM Punk, is well known for speaking his mind on, well, literally everything, especially when he thinks something could be better. His latest target was the entirety of NXT, who Punk took aim at this past week in a statement on his Twitter. His gripe is that part-time wrestler Pat McAfee is, in his opinion, the best promo on the entire roster, and that the rest of the roster should be embarrassed. A lot of it has to do with circumstance, but everyone else on the shows should feel embarrassment and subsequently use said feeling to better themselves at the fact that Pat McAfee is a better promo than everyone on the show. Punk was asked by a fan what he thinks McAfee's potential ceiling could be if he were to commit to being a full-time wrestler, to which he replied, "There's zero reason for him to fully commit to wrestling. He's already the best thing on this show, not named Rhea Ripley." Well, at least he was nice to Rhea. What a great guy Punk is. While Punk made a shock return on WWE Backstage in November last year, he was never signed to a WWE contract and therefore has no contractual obligations to be nice about anyone on any of the rosters, as he's shown time and time again. CM Punk to NXT confirmed. Perhaps he'd be nicer if one of wrestling's top free agents joined WWE, because it seems she's not heading to AEW. It's now been nearly 6 months since Impact released former world champion Tessa Blanchard, and since her release she's had just one match, a losing effort to Kylie Ray in the Warrior Wrestling Stadium Series in September. When her release was announced, it seemed like it was only a matter of time before she was snapped up by someone else. The only question was whether it would be AEW or WWE. While both promotions have been rumored to be interested in Tessa, it seems that AEW at least have no intention of signing her at the moment. According to the latest Wrestling Observer newsletter, while Tony Khan and co recognize Tessa's talent, they have given up on pursuing her for the time being. This may well come as a surprise to some, as if AEW needs to improve anything, it's arguably its women's division. We'll just have to see if this gives NXT an easier path to her signature. And speaking of NXT, it seems one of the division's biggest stars could be returning at any second. Karrion Kross won the NXT Championship in August at TakeOver 30, but was immediately forced to relinquish the belt after separating his shoulder in the match with Keith Lee. Speaking ahead of tomorrow's NXT TakeOver War Games, Triple H revealed that Kross would be back any second, possibly teasing that he might make his return at War Games itself, which would be fun, or at the very least the NXT episode afterwards. And now it's time for a review of last night's episode of SmackDown in about 5 minutes. Thank you for being awesome pledgehammers on Patreon, WrestleTalk's personal ring announcer Rodrigo Benitez, and no one names their kid this anymore, Larry. The show kicked off with Kayla Braxton introducing Roman Reigns, accompanied by Paul Heyman and Jey Uso, to the ring, where Roman eviscerated her for asking stupid questions, like "Are you afraid of Kevin Owens?" and "Are you manipulating Jey Uso?" And before you know it, out came Owens to issue a challenge for tonight's main event, which had already been announced as Reigns and Jey versus Owens and Otis. And then he also challenged Roman to a TLC match at TLC for the Universal Championship. I wonder whether he'll accept. Jey gets himself involved again because he apparently doesn't learn his lesson, accepting Owens' main event challenge on behalf of Roman, to which Roman tells Jey later backstage that there will be consequences. Up next was Bayley versus Natalya with Bianca Belair on commentary, which was designed to further the feud between Bayley and Belair. Bayley consistently trash-talked Belair from the ring after hitting almost every move, before Natalya came back, locked in the sharpshooter, and then Bayley just tapped. No surprise roll-up from Bayley taking her eye off the ball. She just tapped. I think WWE were trying to tell the story of Bayley's focus being elsewhere so she wasn't up to her usual standard, but it didn't work. This just made Bayley look worse, which means if Bianca beats her in this feud, she won't look as good as she could. Or even worse, if she loses, she'll be losing to a loser. Here's a fun fact, Bayley hasn't won a match since August. What the hell? She had the SmackDown Women's Championship for over a year and carried WWE's women's division through the Performance Center era alongside Sasha Banks. And now it seems like they're trying to do all they can to wipe away her shine. She needs to continue to be treated like a champion even after dropping the belt, otherwise she won't feel like one anymore, and any victories over her will feel much less important than they should. After the first of 3 heartwarming pat Patterson tribute video packages throughout the night, there was a tribute match in his name, featuring 6 former Intercontinental Champions, with the original 1979 belt at ringside. Daniel Bryan, Rey Mysterio, and Big E teamed up to face Dolph Ziggler, Shinsuke Nakamura, and current champion Sami Zayn. And Big E has new music, featuring our best friend and former Quizlemania guest Wale. It's gonna take some time to get used to Big E not entering to the New Day's music or the now iconic "oh" insert location here, but this is not a bad theme at all. Plus, he's now got his chalk back that he used to use, which I'm all for. Wait. Big E referenced the 5 count from NXT last week, and now he's got the chalk back? Big E heel turn confirmed? The match itself was pretty fun, with a lot of fast-paced action and some cool spots, with Sami reversing Rey's rolling bulldog into a blue thunderbomb, and a brutal-looking brainbuster, though thankfully this week not on the apron. Unfortunately, Sami is once again the man who took the pin, getting rolled up by Daniel Bryan in an inside cradle. And then after the match, the 3 babyfaces get back into the ring and beat up Dolph Ziggler with some major house show vibes. This was a nice bit of levity and a lovely tribute to Pat. I just wish Sami didn't take the pin when there's a perfectly good Dolph and or Shinsuke right there. Kevin Owens cut a promo backstage with Kayla Braxton featuring a wild encounter with Kalisto, who came out wearing a fedora and then left? I have no idea what that was, before Sasha Banks and Carmella had a sit-down interview, and hey, guess what guys? They actually got some story. After some fairly naturalistic back and forth between the two, Carmella spoke about how with half the training she's better than Banks. Banks had to spend her entire life pouring her blood, sweat and tears into becoming a wrestler, whereas Carmella waltzed into the Performance Center on a whim and skyrocketed to the top. This is actually quite a nice story that fits well with both of their characters, and I'm glad they've actually got some story to play into their eventual match at TLC. Up next was a rematch from last week of Murphy versus King Corbin, with Murphy being accompanied by the Mysterio family, featuring Dominic's best cosplay of a flamingo. And after the Mysterios randomly started using heel tactics last week, Corbin came prepared this week, being flanked by Wesley Blake and Steve Cutler. Wait, Corbin being flanked by 2 cronies? No. No, not again, it can't be. Baron Corbin's mid-card vortex, no, it can't be, please help. All jokes aside though, I am very glad the Forgotten Son seems to have been quietly disbanded and Cutler and Blake get the opportunity to do something without being painted with the same brush as Jackson Riker. And they worked pretty well in this match, attacking the Mysterio family under Corbin's instruction, leading to Murphy getting involved and running straight into the end of days for the Corbin win. Now I know, it's Corbin with 2 cronies, this could be dreadful, but I'm optimistic about Blake and Cutler with Corbin. They seem like a good fit, or at the very least, much better than Drew McIntyre, Dolph Ziggler, Bobby Roode, or whoever else was part of the mid-card vortex before. However, I do feel like the story made to introduce them was quite unnatural, with the Mysterios randomly changing how they wrestle, leading to Corbin's retaliation this week. The Street Profits are backstage cutting a promo on no one before Robert Roode and Cesaro interrupt, and they all squabble and talk over each other, and then the segment ends. Alright, cool. Glad that meant something. And then finally, it was time for the main event of Otis and Kevin Owens versus Jey Uso and Roman Reigns. Except in classic Roman fashion, as his consequences for Jey getting involved in the opening segment, he didn't show up at the start of the tag match. Jey had to go it alone for a little while, but when Roman did come out, he almost immediately destroyed Otis on the outside with the steps and wiped him out of the rest of the match. Would that count as a DQ? Are the steps ever considered a DQ? Why aren't they? With the numbers advantage flipped, Reigns and Jey beat down on Owens, until eventually Owens gets double teamed and Jey goes up top for a splash, but Reigns calls him off, saying he needs to finish this. But after Owens fires back, Reigns just gets in, locks in the guillotine, and the ref calls for the DQ. Jey Uso grabs 2 chairs and he and Roman beat the hell out of Owens with them, before Reigns then turns and starts wailing on Jey as well. Reigns then cuts a vicious promo in Owens' face to end the show. I really liked all of this, and Reigns' story continues to be the highlight of SmackDown. So that was the show. Let me know what you thought of it in the comments, and head on over to our Twitter page to vote in our poll, where over 52% of you voted this as a good show. with the next highest rating being poor at 20.8. I also thought this was a good show, as the only major negative for me was Bayley tapping to Natalya, with most of the rest of the show being at least good, if not great. I'm optimistic for Blake and Cutler. Carmella and Banks have some story finally, and it makes sense. Reigns and Owens is being built wonderfully, and I like Big E's new look. So for me, this show gets a good 3 out of 4. The AEW vs Impact plans have been revealed. Press the video to the right to find out more, and press the video below that to watch the latest episode of Board Game Club, where the gang and special guests play just one. Remember to subscribe here too for daily wrestling news videos and reviews. I've been Corporate Chopper. Jam that jam.